I made an impulse buy on a 17-year-old piece of Pokemon history, but first I had to battle uncertainty over blurry photos, a wild back-and-forth bidding war, and an across-state road trip on my motorcycle through severe thunderstorms, just to get these cards. Was it worth it, or would I end up getting wrecked on this purchase? Let's find out. Hey everybody, what's up from Pokemon Classics, reminding you that the classics never go out of style. So last week, I was browsing some small auction sites looking for deals on Pokemon cards locally here in Minnesota. It was pretty slim pickings until I found a listing that caught my attention. This listing featured what appeared to be a complete 2006 World Championship deck. Now, for those of you that are unaware, Pokemon has a history of reprinting and re-releasing promotional theme decks commemorating different finalist decks each year after the World Championship tournament has concluded. This particular deck was the BLS deck, Hiroki Yano's championship winning deck in the 10 and under division. Now, this deck is pretty cool for a number of reasons. It showcases a unique aspect of Pokemon history, it features a unique design on the back of the cards, along with the player's signature on the fronts, and it contains some extremely popular Pokemon cards, including 3 Blastoise EX cards, 2 Lugia EX cards, 1 Steelix EX card, and 1 Gold Star Latias card. A quick search through eBay and TCG Player comps showed that this deck has some value. It was something I knew I wanted to bid on, but how much should I bid? This was a problem. The pictures were so blurry it was impossible to approximate the condition of the cards or even to verify that all 60 cards from the deck were included in this listing. But as I was scrutinizing the photos, that's when I made an unexpected discovery. There were 4 Blastoise EX cards in this photo. The deck is only supposed to contain 3 Blastoise EX cards, and maybe it was just the poor resolution of the photos or the light reflecting off the cards, but that 4th Blastoise looked an awful lot like a holo to me. If this was the regular holo Blastoise EX in near mint condition or better, it could easily be worth hundreds of dollars. I was willing to take a gamble on this lot. So as the final moments of the auction ticked away, I was securely in front as the highest bidder at $71. But as it was about to close, another bidder entered. We battled back and forth, and with each increase in price, I started to wonder if this was even worth it. Clearly, the other bidder saw what I saw in these cards, but then something unexpected happened. The auction closed, and I was the winner of a 2006 World Championship deck in undecided, undetermined condition. I have to admit, it was an exhilarating feeling winning this auction, until I looked at the location. This auction was local pickup only, and the destination was over 100 miles of driving. That's a pretty long journey for a $100 impulse buy. Fortunately, I had a plan. I'd make the whole day into a Pokemon motorcycle trip, including an extra stop at a famous Minnesota gaming store that I'd always wanted to visit. So the next morning, I suited up for my journey, bringing along my camera gear, card sleeves, and some extra spending money. If this was going to be a Pokemon motorcycle trip though, I couldn't go alone, and I knew just who to bring. Charmander, I choose you! With my co-pilot securely in place, our journey began, and after an hour or so of riding, we were only a few miles away from our first stop, Punch-Out Gaming in Forest Lake, Minnesota. I have to admit, I was extremely eager to see this store in person, but Charmander insisted that I stop at Culver's first for a quick pit stop. Oh, I'm sorry, did you want one? He's stealing all my food. With a full belly and a fresh tank of gas, we buzzed over to Punch-Out Gaming, and this place was nothing short of amazing. Now, before I show you the inside of the store, let me offer you some background.
A punch in the gut for Punch-Out Gaming in Forest Lake. The small business broken into with thieves making off with thousands in Pokemon merchandise. That's our top story tonight. Good evening, I'm Karen Scullen.
Well guys, as long as I'm on this massive journey for a collection, I figured I'd make a 30-mile detour out of the way to stop at Punch-Out Gaming. Really big gaming store here in Minnesota. And I don't know if you remember from the news, but this is actually the one that was robbed back during the pandemic. had a hole broken through the side of the wall, and thieves came in and took a bunch of stuff. So I wanted to give them some of my business, maybe pick up some modern packs, even though I don't really collect modern, as well as see what else they have to offer here. This place looks really amazing, so hopefully lives up to the hype. This place had everything. Vintage video games, an entire wall of Pokemon plushies, countless binders filled with cards, a whole room dedicated to TCG play and arcade games, and, my personal favorite, several display cases filled with vintage Pokemon cards. There were even a few first edition base set holos, and that's something you don't see very often. Anyway, it was really cool, and it brought me back to my youth rummaging around through Wizards of the Coast cards and attending Pokemon League events on the weekends. A quick shout out to Punch-Out Gaming for welcoming me and allowing me to film inside the store. It was a really cool store, and I'm really glad I stopped out here. I did pick up a couple of booster packs, as well as something else that I think is going to fit the theme of this video perfectly, so stay tuned for that. But anyway, we need to get on with the journey. There's still a lot of road to cover. After another 30 minutes of driving on a perfect Minnesota afternoon, we arrived at the auction pickup site, and I have to admit, at this point, I was starting to get nervous. Would all the cards be accounted for? Would the 4th Blastoise EX be the holo version? Would the cards be in okay condition or completely destroyed? I went in with my auction printout in hand, and I returned with a 2006 World Championship deck. I quickly pulled around to the back parking lot to take a closer look in a more private location.
Hey, Charmander, why don't you show us what we're working with here?
Well, I have to admit the deck box is not in as good of condition as I was hoping it would be, but we'll have to get it home, unbox all the singles, assess their condition, and then go from there.
We have the risk for tornadoes, large hail, damaging winds. As those storms track eastward, they are going to weaken a bit, but they're still going to be severe potentially.
With the package acquired, it was time to head home, but what I wasn't expecting was for the weather to change so quickly and so drastically. It's amazing just how quickly the weather can change in a moment here in Minnesota, going from the most beautiful summer day you could possibly imagine to now the potential for strong thunderstorms. But anyway, I'm gonna make a straight line home because I don't wanna get rained on, I certainly don't wanna get hailed on, and I definitely don't wanna get tornadoed on. So we're gonna pack up and get out of here.
And this bowing has me concerned that we're looking at the potential for a complex of storms that are especially capable of wind damage.
No matter how fast I drove, the storm was gaining ground. And as it turns out, this would be one of the most violent and aggressive storms of the year in Minnesota, with baseball-sized hail reported in the same area shortly after I left. It was like that scene in Pokemon the Movie 2000, where the legendary birds are fighting Lugia with fire and ice and lightning flying in every direction. Fortunately, I was able to make it home just as the storm caught up with me. And here I am. So I guess there's just one thing left to do. Let's take a look at these cards and see if we scored a deal or got wrecked on this purchase. So I actually sleeved all these cards up already and took a quick look through the condition, but all 60 cards are present and the condition ranges from light play to near mint, which I think is actually really good considering that these cards are over 17 years old. Some of them have some light surface wear, maybe some edge wear or some light corner wear, but overall really not bad considering their age. Now the other thing that's unique about this deck, the BLS Championship deck, is the variety. There are 27 Pokemon cards in this deck, there are 22 trainer cards in this deck, and then there are 11 water energies. The other thing that's really unique about all of the World Championship decks is they have the signature of the trainer that was playing the deck, the competitor. So it's a unique take on the cards in addition to the back sides, which is probably the most unique aspect, and that's the World Championship logo with the year on it. So these are obviously not tournament legal, but it's kind of a cool collector piece. One quick note, this deck was actually the winning deck played by Hiroki Yano, who went 10-2 overall in the 10 and under division in 2006. That's a pretty impressive tournament run. As for the heavy hitters in the deck, there are 3 Blastoise EX cards, and if you notice, these are non-holographic and they have a silver border, as opposed to that traditional holographic border that the EX cards were known for. Still a very attractive card though. There are also 2 Lugia EX cards, and these are reminiscent to me of the ones from Neo Genesis that have the 3 different energy types to attack, though this one does a lot more damage. The S in the deck stands for Steelix. There's only one Steelix EX in this deck,
And then there's also one gold star, and that's Latias. Again, all of these are non-holos, but generally when we're thinking about the value of this deck, the majority of the value comes from these 7 cards.
In terms of value, I think we did all right here. Looking at recent sales, it appears the Blastoise EX cards go for about $15 to $30 raw in near mint condition, and perhaps up to $50 if they grade well. Meanwhile, the Lugia EX cards have sold for about $15 to $30 raw in near mint condition, and up to $100 graded. And finally, the Latias Gold Star is earning $50 to $100 in near mint condition, and maybe even a couple $100 if they grade well. Even raw destroyed copies of this card have sold for $40, so there may be some potential value here. In total, just these 6 cards put us at a range of $155 to $250 raw, and up to $650 in an absolute best case scenario with grading. Overall, I'd say that's pretty good, but there's still one more card we need to look at.
All right, the moment we were all waiting for, the card that I was excited to find in the purchase, and that's the normal Blastoise EX. Now this one is the regular release in Fire Red Leaf Green, and it's actually a pretty valuable card. We'll take it out of the sleeve and take a look at some of the condition here. So overall, I'm not noticing any major damage. There's no creases, no bends, no indents. There does seem to be a little bit of edge wear here up at the top, but it's overall not that bad. Maybe a little bit of scratching to the hollow surface. Let's take a look at the back edges. Along the back, the top's looking really clean. Sides are looking really clean. But down on the bottom, I don't know if you can catch that, there's a little bit of chipping along the edge. Not very significant, but that'll bring the grade down a little bit. If I were to get this graded, I would anticipate maybe a 6 or a 7. It's near mint condition for sure, and just depends on how picky they want to be on some of that edge wear. But overall, a really great pickup for something that I wasn't expecting when originally looking at this deck.
In this condition, the Blastoise EX appears to sell for between $100 and $175 raw, and up to $400 graded. Though I'd expect this particular copy to grade a PSA 6 or a 7, which is probably closer to $200 to $250. Either way, I'm incredibly excited by this find, and I even bought this Blastoise plushie from Punch-Out Gaming in the hopes of getting some cool B-roll shots. More importantly, I'm just thankful for the adventure. This experience took me out of the house and on an across-state motorcycle ride. It inspired me to research and learn more about Pokemon trading card game history. It led me to visit a gaming store I've always wanted to see in person, and it provided me with the memorable experience of trying to dodge a massive thunderstorm on my motorcycle. Maybe it'll make a nice return on my initial investment, but in all honesty, I think it already has. Anyway, let me hear your wild and memorable collecting stories down in the comments below. Perhaps you made a random impulse buy or happened upon a lucky discovery of your own. If so, I want to hear about it. But anyway, that's going to wrap it up for this one. I'm Pokemon Classics, reminding you that the classics never go out of style. Stay well, everyone. Enjoy collecting, and don't forget to have fun. We'll see y'all with the next one. Bye, everybody.